Namaste, and welcome to Inspirations. I'm Mike Rosenkrantz, a VSO volunteer, and today we have a fellow American, Ben Ayers from the dZi Foundation. He's the country director. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Mike.
Ben, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and kind of how you came to come to Nepal and live here?
Yeah, I mean, I lived a pretty normal middle-class American childhood, middle-class American life. I grew up in New Hampshire, on the East Coast, and of my life there, both my parents were teachers. I did well in school, but my real interest was in the outdoors, and I spent a lot of time in the woods, climbing, biking, hiking, and that developed a real love for adventure and a real interest in sort of challenging myself and having experiences, and that's what initially led me to Nepal. When I did my bachelor's degree, I had an opportunity to do a study abroad program here for 4 months, and so I came to Nepal because of the Himalayas. I had great ambitions as a mountaineer, and that's what initially drew me here.
How many years have you been here?
I first came in 1998, so that's about 14 years now.
And so what have you been doing during those 14 years?
A lot of things. It hasn't been steady, but when I first came to Nepal, what really captured my interest were the porters, people carrying goods for both expeditions and commercial porters carrying loads into remote markets and roadless areas. And for me, what interested me about the porters was it was such a juxtaposition from the way I was brought up. And in America, our whole, I feel like a lot of our lives are centered around our brains and our heads, this consciousness sort of based here. And you know, we have helmets for everything that you do in America. Whereas I came to Nepal and I saw porters carrying with them Amla. And these commercial porters carrying 100, 120 kilograms on their heads. And that idea of the body as a laboring machine was something so different from being brought up in a very intellectual and a very sort of academic environment in the States. And so my interest naturally went to porters and to seeing what their experiences were like, how that related also to the way I had been taught to experience the world. And I worked as a porter myself for a long time. I carried commercial loads around in eastern Nepal and tagged along on trekking routes even though no one would hire me. Obviously, no foreigners would hire me to carry for them. It was those experiences where I learned, I was so inspired by the porters, by these people who literally have been studied to be some of the strongest people on earth.
Can you say a little bit more about dZi Foundation and what are some of your accomplishments? What areas, geographic areas are you working in? I mean, what are you trying to do, and kind of what is your development philosophy?
The dZi Foundation is, we're a small organization, and our philosophy is based around the belief that the communities themselves that we work with, they're the experts on development. They're the ones who know what their needs are and can sort of respond to emerging changes. They're the ones who are the right. Let me start this one over. The dZi Foundation, our approach is a long-term approach that we call deep development, and what that means is we look at long-term change over 8, 9, 10 years and trying to support communities with their own goals and their own ambitions, because they are the true experts on what needs to happen and what should rightfully happen for them. It's not our position as outsiders, we don't believe, to determine that. So we work in 2 watersheds, in the Hongku River and in the Rawa River watershed in Khotang and Solukhumbu districts. We work in 7 VDCs, and that catchment is about 21,000 people, more or less, that we work in. And those are portering communities that I first started working with Porters Progress. So I've had a relationship there now for over a decade. And the type of work that we do is we don't focus on a certain sector or a certain intervention. What we look at is trying to do a number of things and to teach the communities themselves the basic skills, the motivation, the sense of accomplishment that really truly allows them then to take command of their own futures. What that means in reality is we help form small NGOs, and we teach those NGOs to do assessments, to figure out what their highest priorities are. And they come to us with proposals for funding that include what their contribution is first. The communities look at what they have to offer, what their dreams are, and then we fill in the gaps, also while teaching them how to implement those projects. Oftentimes we get proposals for things that we can't fund, either we don't have the expertise in it, we don't have enough funding or whatever, and we also help those NGOs and our local community partners find funding from other sources, be it the Nepal government, be it other NGOs or INGOs. And the idea is to try to have communities drive the development process, have it be something that grows out of the communities, instead of comes down as a mandate from a donor. And for us, what we've found is that that approach really is able to capture the strength and the resilience and the intelligence of the Nepali people. And we've been very successful in doing that. We've built well over a dozen schools, we've built thousands of toilets at households, done a lot of infrastructure projects, but we've also ranged into forming over 100 parent-teacher associations. We also do work with medicinal plants as income generation or off-season vegetables. And all of these programs, one feeds into the other, and when you do them all at the same time, you have a magnified impact, rather than just looking at a certain sector. The other sort of signature piece to what we do is we have extremely high levels of local contribution. And it's not for us, our largest single donor, if we look at our project budgets, are the communities themselves. And the amount of time and labor and materials, but especially time and labor these communities put in, is absolutely phenomenal. And we are inspired and humbled by them every day. It's not uncommon to see with a large infrastructure project like a school, to have every household in a VDC put in 20 or 30 days of labor. And when I see, for us, for me as an American, it's seeing inspiring stories like that that make me want to stay here and learn more. But it also inspires me and makes me realize that Nepal has a lot to offer the international community in terms of characteristics of community cohesion, of motivation, of the ability to actually contribute to your own development rather than relying upon external sources to do that.
Some moments last a lifetime. Classic Diamond Jewelers.
उठेर कोर्नुस् वा बसेर कोर्नुस् दाहिने देब्रे जुनाले कोर्नुस् नागरिकमा नगद पुरस्कार पक्का पक्की छ
कुपन जसरी स्क्रैच गरे पनि नागरिकका हरेक वार्षिक ग्राहकलाई हजारौंको नगद पुरस्कार पर्ने पक्का पक्की छ
टिभी हेरेर बुझ्नुस् वा रेडियो सुनेर बुझ्नुस्
हामीलाई फोन गरेर बुझ्नुस् पत्रिकामा पढेर बुझ्नुस् नागरिकमा नगद पुरस्कार पक्का पक्की छ
अनि पुरस्कार नपरेमा 10 वर्षसम्म निशुल्क नागरिक दैनिक थप जानकारीका लागि फोन नम्बर 4268656
So talk about some of your inspirations, personally, professionally.
Well, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, this sounds sort of trite and cliched, but it is Nepal. It's the Nepali people that inspire me every day. Within that, particularly the people that have inspired me most were these porters that I initially worked with, and these men and women to a degree, but mostly these rugged men who would, for me, walking with these porters and seeing people who will carry 250 pounds, 120 kilos for 11 days, for what? To feed their families, to survive. That just was so inspiring to me. It was a real indicator of the value of being alive. If people are willing to work this hard to live, it was extremely humbling for me, and I feel like my time here, the past 14 years, I've only tried to sort of repay. I hope that my contribution can in some way repay the debt from all that knowledge I've gained, all that perspective on life that I was given, that I have been given by being able to experience Nepal on such an intimate level.
Talk about some of the unforgettable moments in your life? I'm sure it probably has to do with Nepal.
One of the things I did when I was working at Porter's Progress was I was a creative writing major, and I've always had an interest in literature. And so we collected poems that Porter's had written. And I made this small chapbook called 2/5 of Breath, Dwi Muti Sas. And I did this translation of Porter poetry into English that then I used, we sold some copies and used it as sort of a fundraising vehicle. But more, it was also a way of getting the word out, to celebrate the fact that porters aren't just porters, that they're poets and they're, faith healers, and they have all these great characteristics aside from just being laborers. And so I had published this chapbook, it was 2001 or 2, it was a long time ago. And years later, I was sitting in on a Parent-Teacher Association training that we were giving in this community of Goodell, one of the villages that we work in, and we're in this tiny schoolroom, and all the parents are there. And during this training, what we try to inspire is to get the communities to contribute to the schools themselves. Again, it's not about waiting for external funding. It's what can you give? What can you do for your school? And these trainings have had a great impact upon the way that the education the children are able to get. And again, it's about utilizing the local resources. So the last thing we do in these Parent-Teacher Association trainings is everyone in the community goes home and they get something that they're going to donate to the school when they come back. And so we were going around the room and everyone was standing up, and some people were giving a can of paint, some people were giving a few hundred rupees, a broom, things that they can contribute to the school. And this one old porter in the back of the room got up and, said in Nepali, "This is my favorite book. I'm going to give this to the school library." And it was a chapbook of poetry that I had translated into English. And we hadn't made the connection. And to me, to see, it is based on myself, but to see that full circle and to know that, some of the poems that Porter's had written are in a library somewhere in Goodell, and that I had been able to sort of have a connection to those communities in that intimate of a way, for me was just, I'll never forget it. I felt then that perhaps,
And what message would you like to leave our viewers with?
मेरो message चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भने चाहिँ यो देशको विकास बनेको चाहिँ त्यो बाहिरबाट आउने चिज चाहिँ हुनु पर्दैन, त्यो उम्रिने चिज हुनु पर्यो। यही देशको विकास चाहिँ यही देशको मान्छेभित्र चाहिँ हुँदो रहेछ, अनि यो आत्मविश्वास हुनु पर्यो। अनि त्यससँग चाहिँ अहिलेको नयाँ जेनेरेसनको चाहिँ दुई शब्द बोल्नु पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ तपाईको हजुरआमा, तपाईको बुवा वरको सोच चाहिँ अलिकति कम प्रायोरिटी दिनु, वरको छोराछोरीको सोच चाहिँ कस्तो हुँदो रहेछ त्यही सम्झेर डिसिजन गरौँ। तपाईँको छोराछोरीले चाहिँ मेरो बुवाले कतारमा गएर पैसा कमाएर उहाँको मुख चाहिँ देख्यौँ, त्यही सोच रोमान्छ कि मेरो बुवाले यो देश बसेर कम पैसा कमाए पनि यो देश बनाउँथ्यो, ये हालु जोडेर गोरु जोडेर ये उम्रेर खाना खाएर बस्थ्यो, मलाई सानोदेखि माथि हुर्काउन सक्थ्यो। त्यो कुरा चाहिँ तपाईले सम्झिदिनु होला। नेक्स्ट जेनेरेसन अफ नेपाल, यो एक पुस्तापछि हाम्रो वर्ल्ड चाहिँ उल्टो हुन्छ अहिले भन्दा, अनि मेरो विचारमा चाहिँ यो अन्तर्राष्ट्रियको लागि चाहिँ नेपालको सम्पत्तिहरूको चाहिँ एकदमै आवश्यकता छ, अनि त्यो हराउन हुँदैन। यही सम्पत्ति चाहिँ विदेशमा बढ्दैन भएन।
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much.
Got it.
That's our show for today, and we'll see you again next time.